The PlayStation 5, a brilliant console of our current generation. It has HDMI 2.1, and guess what? That means it can technically utilize the full capabilities of this, the Odyssey G9 57-inch from Samsung. But the truth is that it really can't. So if you're considering this monitor for your next monitor to play console games on, well, watch this video. TechManPat here. Today we're going to explore using the PS5 with the 57-inch Odyssey G9. We're going to talk about if it's a monitor you should consider for console gaming and some notes on monitor and PS5 settings. If you like this video, then make sure to smash the like button somewhere below. And if you want to support this channel, then tap the subscribe button too. That's also below. Let's get started by rolling the intro. Now I'm going to start off by talking about the HDMI spec of this monitor, because the console and the monitor have both the same version, 2.1. The spec can manage up to a resolution of 10K, a refresh rate of up to 120 Hz, dynamic HDR, and has a total bandwidth of 48 gigabytes per second. Now the 57-inch Odyssey G9 is advertised at also having 240 Hz. That's not really relevant here because the console doesn't go above 120 Hz anyway. The important part here is the monitor is technically made up of two 32-inch monitors, so you would have an entire 32-inch 4K mini LED screen dedicated to your PS5 and potentially right next to it the same 4K 32-inch screen connected to your PC. And that is a pretty sweet room setup and really the benefit of having an ultra wide. So let's talk specs, settings, downsides, performance, and everything else. Obviously the PS5 does not support ultra wide. It's designed for a 16:9 ratio TVs, and that's it. So let me disappoint you straight away. You'll not be playing the PS5 on the entirety of this gorgeous screen. When you plug in your PS5, it will look stretched. There is a setting in the monitor here to change the screen size natively. Tap into the menu, go to picture, and set it to auto. You can ignore everything else there, none of it really helps. Now I tried playing around with the settings for the PS5, but there was no discernible differences in picture settings or quality. Then in the G9, you can flick through different picture settings to your liking, but you'll notice that the standard provides the best true to life and color balances. As you can see, the monitor is running at 120 Hz, supporting VRR. You can see adaptive sync is on, which is a technology of variable refresh rate, VRR, and also HDR is on. With the release of the 5th PlayStation, we get VRR support, which is great, but unless the game is badly optimized, VRR won't make a big visual difference, unless there is very significant stuttering. If you go to your PS5 display settings, you can make sure you're running 4K by selecting 2160p, then checking VRR as automatic, and then making sure 120 Hz is selected. Now here's the downside, and I hope many realize this, but your PS5 cannot do 4K at 120 Hz on most games. Here's a list of 120 supported games, but most will have to drop the resolution down to 1080p or even sometimes 900p depending on the game, which isn't really making use of this monitor's 4K resolution. For example, Rocket League, it can run at 120 Hz, but it drops the resolution to 1080p. So the question is, do you even need a 4K screen at all for anything to do with the PS5? Well, if you like gaming in cinematic 30 frames, then yeah, sure, but personally in games, I like to select the performance mode. Now the image clarity is brilliant, no matter the resolution. Of course, the monitor has a lot of pixels to show, so text even at 1080p or 1440p and images are actually really crisp. Let's jump into the picture-in-picture mode, because this is where the monitor and console really shine. When in picture-in-picture mode, you can select two sources to be shown on either side of the screen in different arrangement styles. However, the refresh rate drops to 60 Hz each side, and unfortunately VRR gets disabled. HDR still works, which is nice, and the 4K resolution is there, which is awesome for your PC side anyway. So what's the use case here? Well, VRR isn't a make or break technology right now, and I really didn't see any tearing in the games, and they were really generally very well optimized for the console. So the frames are relatively locked in, meaning the 60 Hz refresh rate really isn't a problem either. So what you get is two 32-inch 4K HDR screens side by side, and the mini LED is there to provide you with really nice deep blacks without the downside of OLED. I would say that they are about 90% there that of what an OLED looks like. And for gaming, that's great. Now, while manufacturers tell you that their OLED screens have tricks up their sleeves on how to manage burn-in, they never tell you that they have completely eliminated. So it's always really there, probably in the back of your mind, wondering if my game or the solid icons or the map icon is going to burn my screen. I think it's still a real issue. We'll see what happens in the future. In regards to color and quality, it's pretty damn perfect. The color reproduction of the mini LED panel is impressive, and with HDR to boot, it seals the deal. I noted no ghosting, no stutter, and the response rate is really good, much better than you can get on any TV. So, apart from picture-in-picture, if you are purchasing this monitor and happy to play in this kind of arrangement with black boxes on the side, it is for those people who want to play competitively on the console and then have a ultra-wide screen on their computer. So glare isn't an issue with the G9 either. It has a matte finish. Even with direct light, the screen is bright and full of color. It's certainly high quality gaming, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. And when playing in a dark environment, you actually may have to turn the brightness down. It does really kick a punch. If you're a console game streamer or just want to watch YouTube on the side while you play your console games on your battle station in your room or basement, this is a great solution. I really love the basement. Like, imagine having the whole basement to yourself, like a man cave. I think that's kind of fun. Anyway, I cannot recommend this monitor for pure console gaming. Unless you're specifically going to be using it in picture-by-picture mode, then yes, jump right in. And even if you're not, I personally hate black bars. I would hate to play like this, even though it's fine. Like, you play console, it looks great, it sounds great. The bars are a bit of a distraction, unfortunately. So what are some comparable recommendations if this monitor is pricey to you? And technically, you know what? It should be. It's not cheap. Well, here are my assumptions as to what we're looking out for, especially compared to this. We want a 4K screen, even though technically the PS5 isn't really going to make use of it, but your PC might. So with that in mind, we want 120Hz refresh rate at the minimum, VRR support, and preferably bigger than 27 inches or around a 32-inch size, but maybe even bigger. And definitely not ultra-wide, but with good color reproduction. So think either OLED or IPS. Here's the fun part. There are cheaper OLED screens. So let's not pay 3,199 Australian dollars for this. Let's drop that by, let's say, a few $100 and jump to the Asus ROG Swift 47.53 Ultra High Definition 4K G-Sync, so it's got VRR support, and it's got 138Hz refresh rate with a 0.1 millisecond latency, and it's OLED. It's beautiful. It's pretty much like a TV that doubles as a monitor, rocking that really beautiful OLED. But it comes with those caveats of burn-in. But it's technically perfect for this recommendations because it's only $2,899. Bargain. You could drop to its little brother, 41.5-inch version at $2,299, but let's fall a little bit faster on the price now. If you're set on Samsung, then I recommend the 43-inch Odyssey Neo G7 ONC. It's an ultra high definition 4K gaming monitor, and it's at $1,799. It has the beautiful mini LED, so you don't get the drawbacks of OLED, and of course, you make use of the 144 Hz on both your PC and PS5 to 120. So it's perfect for gaming and web browsing. But let's be clear, if you're choosing a monitor, it means you want to play competitively on your console. But then again, do you really want to spend big money? So let's look at another monitor and avoid any TV discussions in this video. So jumping lower in budget, I would suggest you look at the Gigabyte M2 8U 28-inch 4K FreeSync premium monitor. It supports PS5's VRR, and it has a refresh rate of 144 Hz with an IPS screen. So the IPS will give you great colors, and it has very good response time. And that is at $849 from PLE, links below. So at about $800 to $1,200 price point, you'll find the sweet spot of let's say an IPS panel with a very high refresh rate and 4K resolution, and really that's kind of the budget you'd have to stick to in Australian dollars at the moment with what's in stock. Now, if you were to drop your refresh rate, you'd be able to spend a little bit less, and of course if you reduce your resolution to, let's say, 1440p, now you're really playing in the $500 range. And probably if you're not willing to spend more than $800, that's your best option for high-end competitive console gaming. So what would happen is you'd plug in your PS5 and then you'd have your settings to always be set to performance so you can get some decent frame rates on your game. Let me know your thoughts below. Suggest some other monitors that I've missed. Of course, there are hundreds of them. These were just off the top of my head that I really like in the recent times that I've seen stood out to me, but I'll love to see your recommendations below. Make sure you like this video if you did and subscribe to support us. I'll catch you all in another one. Bye!